This is a wonderful opportunity to share with you uh, one of the most compelling things that is happening in the world today, the AI revolution. Um, if you have questions that come up during the presentation, please send me an email, or after the talk, send an email as well, because there's a lot of very interesting and profound things that are happening in the world that I'm going to tell you about. Virtually the entire world has been grasped by this new AI. Probably everybody, each of you in the audience have used ChatGPT, and hundreds of millions of people use it every day. And the interesting thing about it is it addresses the 50-year-old challenge by Turing, one of the most famous British computer scientists, who said that computers will reach a level of human intelligence when they cannot be distinguished from humans when you're communicating with them. And most chat GPT looks like you're speaking with a human. I'm going through a bunch of really remarkable successes of AI, and one is cancer detection. And then this one is called protein folding. It solves in about 5 hours in a single algorithm a problem that has taken humans about a decade to solve. And finally, in the COVID crisis, the Moderna vaccine was produced by Moderna using artificial intelligence once they had the genetic information, and the vaccine formula was created in 48 hours. And typically that is another 10-year activity. So what I'm going to tell you about is AI-based data science. It's not AI, and I'll show you in a moment. What is it? It is learning from data. I'm going to show you some of the so what it does is it uses computational methods in AI to discover knowledge by analyzing large data sets. And it's inaccurately called AI. So let me show you. AI involves all of these sub areas. It's a very large, sophisticated. What I call AI-based data science, namely the technology underlying what I'm telling you today, is only these 10 red topics. You actually don't need to see them, but I'm just trying to show you that AI-based data science that has captured the world's attention is only a portion of AI. And what's really quite remarkable is that these solutions have been applied to other areas of AI, and things like language recognition and image recognition. Those solutions that have been developed over 40 or 50 years have been completely replaced by AI-based data science solutions that have only emerged in the past 4 or 5 years. So let me tell you a little bit about what this stuff really is. Now, you don't need to really know, but I'm just trying to give you an intuition of what underlies this quite remarkable technology. The technology is called brain inspired. We all have in our brains billions of neurons. And these neurons are all interconnected with many billions of connections. And human thought and thinking and reasoning and reacting happens as a result of various neurons getting stimulated from your eye, observing something with your eye, having an idea, and that impulse goes across the neural network and completes whatever the human thought is that you do. So in 1947, a bunch of computer scientists at MIT said, well, why don't we build a computer that operates like neurons in the human brain? And this diagram shows you that there are these nodes or neurons, and they can compute a little bit. And so you get a large number of these neurons that interact, and it starts at the input layer, it goes to the next layer and the computation passes simultaneously across all of these neurons and eventually produces an output. So how do you construct one of these? Well, a human designs a neural network to do a particular task, let's say classification, where it looks at a bunch of pictures, and some pictures are pizzas, some are chairs, some are houses. And so you train a neural network, like an association graph, by showing it millions of pictures of things. And it then learns how to distinguish chairs from pizzas from houses. And if you're sitting there thinking, how the heck does that happen? Well, we don't know. And that's going to be part of the story a little later. So the AI revolution will have a far greater impact on the world than the Industrial Revolution. That's quite a thought, and it is believed and understood by AI experts. What I'm going to tell you about is its incredible power, and the ultimate challenges that we face with it are we don't understand it. Yes, inscrutable is an English word meaning we simply don't understand it. And I will also show you how it's transforming the world. And specifically, it will transform every data-rich task or discipline. By data-rich, I mean any task that can be or is described in data. So the birth of the AI revolution. I already told you it started in 1947, but the neural networks didn't really start working until 2012. So just a decade ago. So we're at the beginning of it. And what it is it's a knowledge discovery paradigm. It uses these computing algorithms to look at data to find patterns. And we human beings find those patterns, we define them as knowledge. So they're not just arbitrary patterns. A pizza is a piece of knowledge, and a formula for a protein is a piece of knowledge. And as any technology, it has a remarkable power to both create and destroy. So it depends on how you use it. And I say that it's at the birth of the AI revolution because it probably has another century to go. Long after we're dead, it will still be going on. So what I want to give you is a sense of, I'm going to say a bunch of very simple words and sentences, but they have a very profound impact. And to show you that simplicity can produce profound changes that you'll never understand for a long time, let me use the Industrial Revolution. In 1769, two men created what they called the steam engine. And this is a picture of it here. It's not a locomotive. The locomotive based on the steam engine didn't occur for another 30 years later. So I claim that in 1769, those two gentlemen that invented the first steam engine could never have seen the consequences. The consequences of their steam engine led to the entire Industrial Revolution. And the philosophy, remember I'm going to tell you about the philosophy of AI. The philosophy of the Industrial Revolution was automation replacing human power. That's what I mean by philosophy. That's the nature of the change. And the benefits and challenges were profound. Urbanization, technology, economic growth, capitalism, social and economic change, just tremendous. So let me show you the simple to the profound. The simple paradigm shift was from manual to automated labor. That led to all the technology we know today. Another change was from country and towns to cities, and that led to the social and economic structure we have today. So the AI revolution has a bunch of paradigm shifts, whereas the Industrial Revolution was transforming manual labor into machine labor, automated, We are now automating knowledge discovery and learning. So knowledge discovery and learning goes from being a manual to being automated, or at least I should say it's aided by. Let me just say that knowledge is something a human has. It's nothing a computer has. But this AI-based data science will find a pattern and say, hey, this might be of interest to you. And we humans use the technology to discover knowledge. So, however, there's a bit of a trick with it. In the days of science, we got certain provable answers. And in the AI revolution, we get results that are uncertain, and we should use them as insights into the problem we're pursuing. So the paradigm shifts were not labor, but knowledge. So manual to automated discovery of knowledge, but the answers are no longer provable and certain. They're uncertain, but they give us insights into the question we're pursuing. And understanding has gone from the human scale in science to things that we're discovering with AI that are beyond human understanding. So the transformations are on human reasoning, intellect, and knowledge. And every data-rich activity is going to be transformed. And the challenges are to ensure that when you apply it, it is both safe to apply and it is consistent with positive human values. So I'm going to say a bunch of very simple words, but they have a very profound impact. So the scope of this technology is every problem for which there's adequate data. And in comparison with science, the scope of science are physical objects that you can test. The scale of the problems that are addressed in the hundreds of trillions of parameters, that's what I mean about beyond human understanding. So the complexity of the problems it can deal with are, again, beyond human understanding. For example, AI-based data science has been used to understand the structure of billions of molecules. It has the flexibility to solve virtually any problem that arises in this data that we can find. Here's a philosophical point. Science is used to determine certain knowledge that is provable and we are certain that it is true. However, my belief is that the world is largely uncertain. And so data science takes us into this area of both certain and uncertain results. And the power of computing using this technology is that it can solve any number of problems at massive scale and complexity. And the speed, I've already given you an example of predicting protein folding used to take a decade, and it now takes 5 hours. So you can understand that those are collectively, those have pretty profound impacts. However, we don't understand it, and there are two basic ways. We don't understand. So I told you earlier that we have these neural networks and you train them to recognize pizzas or chairs or something. We don't know what or how it learns when it is being trained. And then when we give it a new picture and say, well, what is this? Is it a house or a pizza? We have no idea how it discovers that it is a pizza. Now there's also a challenge of going from the domain problem we're trying to solve and the data science problem, and then once you've solved it, going back. So the protein folding example I mentioned earlier, that is actually translated by biologists and people who are about 7 different disciplines have taken the protein folding problem in order to translate it into a data science problem. And they broke it down into 32 different data science problems. They solved the problem, by the way, to the greatest precision that humans have ever done protein folding. And now you get some answer back in data science it doesn't look like a structure, but you've got to translate it back into data science. So just to say that we don't really know how it works, that means to say there's no theory to say that our answers are accurate or precise or robust. So what we have to do is we have to step out of data science and demonstrate that an answer is safe to use. So for example, image translation doesn't seem, image recognition or image generation doesn't seem like a tricky thing to do, but wait a minute, I'm gonna show you in a couple of minutes something that had a devastating effect on the world by just producing an image. However, just to continue, if we don't understand how it works, how do we ensure that it's safe? Well, there's a whole decade of engineering techniques that have been developed to try to minimize the harm and maximize the benefits. So AI-based data science is a new paradigm, a new way of knowledge discovery, problem solving, and prediction, but you don't get answers. You get insights into the question you were pursuing. So I said I would tell you the philosophy, and it is simply you apply AI computational methods to data sets to discover patterns in that data that we as humans then interpret it to be knowledge. So we call that learning from data. As I said, we're at the beginning of a revolution, and we're only a decade into what is going to take a century to mature. It has unbelievable capabilities, vastly beyond science. Let me just point out that science was the world's most powerful knowledge discovery paradigm. Most of human knowledge and scientific knowledge was discovered by science. We have now discovered this new knowledge discovery paradigm that vastly outpaces all of science. It's inscrutable. So how is it going to transform the world? Let me give you some insights. First of all, the transformations that we want are extremely positive and unbelievably sophisticated, predicting protein structures and function. By the way, the reason you want to know the structure of a protein is the structure of a protein is used to define its function. So you take a protein that has a particular physical structure, and you can pack into it various chemicals, the body does, and the body uses that protein to go to parts of the body that need repairing, and those things that it transported help to repair whatever it is, and therefore the protein has become a drug. So drug discovery and drug design is now done largely by AI. Genomics of a human being allows doctors to create personalized medicine and very specialized medical analysis and treatment plans, language understanding, which you're all familiar with. AI is transforming science. Science is an activity. So there's an administrative aspect, and then there's a content like running experiments. AI can do both. AI is currently scientists that nowadays, if you're not using AI to manage your career and your experiments, then you're not going to be competitive. And soon, almost all computer programming is going to be automated, and many other areas as well. So the risk is we're going to lose jobs based on this. And there's already been very significant layoffs. So there are going to be threats of losing jobs, and we already have evidence. And Matt Welch has a technology company that produces a coding tool, an AI coding tool. In 2023, he estimated that the cost of a programmer in Silicon Valley was $1,200, and the cost of using his tool to do the same coding was 12 cents. So it's pretty obvious that you're going to use a tool rather than a human. And AI, compared with previous technologies, it's going to have much greater productivity benefits. There are going to be more tasks and jobs created, as well as more jobs and tasks eliminated. And there are some people like Sam Altman, a rather famous AI CEO of OpenAI. He claimed that almost all human labor was going to be replaced. We have yet to see that. However, just last week, we had evidence from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that 10 times the Gen AI jobs, those are AI jobs, were produced in 2024. Many technologies, AI is eliminating jobs, but it's also creating more. Now I'm going to tell you the worst case. There are three potential scenarios in which AI can be harmful. There's the bad actor problem, and I'll give you one example. And it's Megasin. There's a company in North Carolina that that designs molecules for drug discovery. So their molecules must be non-toxic, otherwise you couldn't use them as a drug. So they did an experiment that they didn't publish, but they published the results. And they reversed the AI system from non-toxic to toxic. And they do it by something called reinforcement learning. So that if you've trained it to, you're training it to do something and it doesn't do it, you say, no, bad job, do it again. Or if it produces something that's close to the answer, you say, yeah, you're getting there, keep going that direction. So 6 hours of computing with their intended to produce toxic versus non-toxic molecules produced 40,000 toxic chemicals, many of which humans knew, but many they didn't know. So you can, this is simply an example of using it negatively. And then there's the alignment problem. You want to ensure that when you do something, let's say by generating a picture, it's in line, it's positive. And I'm going to show you an example which was generated by an algorithm that you could use online, and it generated the following picture. It was a picture of a bomb going off beside the US Pentagon, and it went on, someone created it and put it online, and within 30 minutes of it going online, the New York Stock Exchange dropped $500 billion. So simple things can have huge impacts. None of the tools that produce images nowadays, because of guardrails, they will not produce an image of this type. So the final thing is the actual getting a problem to work the way you want. I gave you the example of protein folding, which took about a decade of experts in 10 disciplines to actually solve the problem. The issue is when you solve a problem with it, you don't know whether you've solved it correctly or whether it's going to be positive, because there's something called hallucinations. So with a large language model, you want to be able to show it a few pizzas and have it generalize to be able to predict any pizza. So AI does this with everything. It generalizes, and let's say you ask it a question, it may produce an answer that is a generalization of what it knows, but is completely false. Those are called hallucinations. And you don't want to get rid of them because you want to use the power of generalization. So the world response to AI has been truly remarkable. There are the people that own the various people who use and produce it. There are hyperbolic claims that it's going to destroy the world. Then there are expert opinions, but hyperbolic claims tend not to come from experts. They come from people who don't fully understand the technology. How do we manage it? I'll show you some examples. And finally, I will conclude with some how AI is being pursued in the US, in a part of the USA, and a bit in Poland as well. So you'll know how it's happening in Poland. So the players in AI it's dominated by about 14 companies, 7 American and 7 Chinese companies that pretty much own the technology and are almost impossible to catch up to. So, and I guess I would say, politically speaking, at least in America, large corporations like this tend to run the country and not the government. There are the AI application owners. And who is that? It's pretty much every company in the world, large or small, and every government. I will show you that the United States government is one of the most extensive users of AI. Now, in 2024, there was a study of 12,000 executives in companies, and they concluded that if you have not deployed artificial intelligence in your company by 2030, you will no longer be competitive. So that just gives you a sense of the extent to which the power of AI is believed by business. And then I'm seeing with AI something I have never seen with any technology in the world. Where the major religions of the world have come out and stated governments and citizens in grassroots organizations. So now let me go to hyperbolic claims that it could destroy the world. Is it possible? Yeah. So Megasin, I told you, is a very dangerous, could be a very dangerous technology. And the AI, knowledge of AI is in the hands of pretty much everybody in the world. And so they could develop such situations. So a catastrophic or hyperbolic solution like that is possible. But the world has encountered this before with nuclear energy, and it has been contained. So I don't know how you're going to deal with the worst cases. Jeff Hinton was the man in 2012 who actually made neural networks very successful. So he knows them intimately. And he said, we're at a remarkable time in our history because it is going to change human reasoning and knowledge discovery. However, 2 years ago, he resigned as the chief AI advisor at Google based on his belief that Google was not using AI in the safest way. Henry Kissinger, one of America's leading statesmen, and Eric Schmidt, the past CEO of Google, they also made the claim that data science reasoning will change by refining the basis of knowledge. Currently, knowledge is stuff we have in our heads and in books. But with AI, what you can do is you can look into books and libraries and the internet and knowledge that humans have not yet discovered. Henry Kissinger has a career's history of understanding war. He says that AI, he's now dead, he said that AI poses the extreme risk of nuclear war. And his argument was, if two sides have AI, you have no idea what the other side is going to do. And so war of the World Wide Web. He said that within about 30 years, everybody will, like you in the audience, you and your children will all have AI assistants, and they will be trustworthy, just like you treat a doctor or a lawyer or a banker today. And they will know everything they need to know about you. And one of the reasons Tim Berners-Lee came out with this is he wanted to indicate that in the world today, on the World Wide Web, everybody owns your information. And he wants to change it to a world in which you own your information, and you can provide it to those who are trustworthy, like bankers and lawyers and doctors. So that's a very compelling one. Now I'm going to show you a few charts about a research study that was done when they asked AI experts. Those are people that actually write papers that define this technology that we're talking about today. These experts were asked in 2022, and that's the blue line, and again in 2023, when various questions. This particular question is, when or what percentage of, to what extent will AI machines gain human level intelligence? And if you look on this chart, you probably can't see it from where you are, but in what they saw in a 1-year change, they shifted to much earlier, so that by 2030, machines will have 25% of human level intelligence. They were then asked, to what extent will human labor be automated? And again, over a period of a year, because of the amazing rapid progress in this technology, they predicted it's going to happen much earlier than they predicted in 2022. And so in this diagram, you'll see that 25% of human labor will be replaced by 2060. That's according to these experts. Now, you can't see this chart. The upper box shows over a 100-year period when certain tasks will be replaced by AI. The lower chart shows a period of 20 years only, and that's much more interesting. And I'm showing you this because there are 40 activities, many of which you're familiar with, such as coding, computer programming, and these experts predict that AI will completely replace humans in coding by 2026, and then other tasks slightly later. And then they were finally asked, what will be the long-term impact of AI? And as you can see, well, you can't sort of see, but in the upper 3 or 4 bars, it's either going to be very positive or good or neutral, and only 5% believe it's going to end human society. So how do you manage this stuff? Well, the religions have come out with principles. Global organizations have come out with principles, frameworks, legislation, and governance. Governments have done that, and companies and universities, and now organizations for all across the USA, across the EU, across South America. So there's massive activity in trying to figure out, how are we going to manage this stuff? And they identified risks of human rights that would be at risk as a result of AI. The EU Act, which governs Poland, by the way, the EU AI Act identifies risk levels, and it identifies unacceptable risks as things that should never be deployed. High risk are things that can be deployed only with governance to ensure that they are safe, and with a little less governance for limited risk and minimal risk, there's almost no constraints. So that's the way that they've governed it. So this is a thumbnail sketch of what's going on in the United States government itself, not the United States as a whole. So the United States has always been the leader in AI technology, deployment, startups, and all that sort of thing. But I wanted to tell you the US government's activity of it, because that seems more serious than startups. The US government individual agencies started investigating AI in 2012 at the very beginning of the revolution. By 2018, the White House mandated that that all policies that were the basis of laws in the United States were evidence-based. evidence-based means based on data, meaning you needed to go out and discover data that supported your claim that this policy would work. And then also in 2018, there was an executive AI to see if it can better fulfill its charter using AI. In 2020, they put out guidance for how to do that in a trustworthy way within the federal government. And of course, the rest of the country followed some of that advice. And then in 2022, they put out a Bill of Rights saying, okay, not only do we want it to be trustworthy, we want the AI to ensure the following rights for the citizens of the United States when the government is using AI. Then in 2023, there was an executive order that defined precisely what it meant to be safe, secure, and trustworthy. And then in 2024, just this year, they came out with a framework to say how AI needs to be studied. And they required every agency of the US government that used AI to prove that each use of its AI is secure, safe, and trustworthy. And then just 2 weeks ago, the US Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission launched antitrust investigations into Microsoft, OpenAI, and NVIDIA's use of AI. So that's just a thumbnail sketch of how extensive AI is being investigated and managed within the US government. In Poland, the Polish government issued something called the Polish National AI Strategy, which dealt with AI in society, AI and innovate and startups, AI and science, AI in education, the very topic of this conference, and AI and international cooperation. And then there was a report, the State of Polish AI in 2021, that discussed the Ministry of Digitization and organizations such as digitalpoland.org and aipoland.org, which are both well worth looking at. Polish AI research, innovation, and development. There is extensive courses in universities, research institute, and private companies. And the OECD, the Organization of Economic Development, identified that there is a very strong AI talent pool in Poland as a result of this education in Poland. However, they also pointed out that there's a brain drain to the European Union and the USA of those people. Lots of startups in healthcare, finance, and manufacturing, for which there are government incentives, and there's limited venture capital. As a member of the European Union, AI in Poland comes under the AI Act. There are also other actions of the European Union on AI that govern AI in Poland. Poland is also a member of the OECD, and therefore it follows its principles for trustworthy AI, and it follows its policy for AI development in Poland. There is a policy for AI development in Poland, which is authored under both Poland and the OECD. And there's something you might look at, OECD.ai. It gives you charts on the extent to which AI is being used in any of its member countries. And it gives you data on AI in Poland, such as they estimate that until 2023, there is about $350 million invested in AI in Poland. And then Poland has a growing number of international cooperations. So to conclude, AI-based data science is this remarkable new technology. It involves learning from data. We are just at the birth of the AI revolution, and the AI revolution is known proven to have these massive capabilities that are going to be developed over the next century. We don't fully understand it, and it's going to transform every data-rich task and job in the world. And with that, I close, and maybe we'll have time for some questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brodie.
Unfortunately, we are off time, so if it is possible, any questions you would like to ask, here is...
You can send it via mail, yes, as Dr. Brodie said at the beginning of the lecture. Thank you very much, Doctor.
And our apologies for the internet connection.
Thank you very much.
So honored. Thank you. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.